Hey everyone, it's Jason from EskimoTV.net, and today I'm going to be giving you my favorite films from 2022. The way I picked this list is I thought back on which were the films that I was the most engaged with, which ones connected with me on a personal level, and which ones I'm excited to go show my friends and family and talk about these films that I watched. And so I have 16 films that I want to highlight. I'm not going to be giving you full reviews of each film, but I'm just going to be giving a quick shout out, maybe a quick comment on the film, maybe a little bit about what it's about. And so without further ado, here are my favorite films of 2022. Number 16 is going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once. I actually watched this today just to make sure that I didn't want to put it further up the list. But I really do enjoy this film. It is very imaginative. The first 40 minutes particularly had me the most engaged, and I do think the film as a whole works, but I do think that that first 40 minutes is probably the best setup and intrigue that I had watching it. Moving on to number 15 is going to be Women Talking. This film was heartbreaking to see these women that feel trapped. It's about women that have been raped and they have to decide if they're going to fight, if they're going to stay, or if they're going to leave this community that they've grown to be a part of. And the highlight of the film is the score. It's by a woman whose first name is Hildur. I'm not going to try to pronounce her last name. She did the score for The Joker. I listen to a lot of instrumental music whenever I'm trying to study or focus on whatever task I have to do on the computer is. I listen to a lot of focus music. And this is a movie that calls for your attention, calls for you to focus on what these women are saying. And the score just drew me into want to listen to more of what these particular women had to say. It's a lot of conversation, a lot of debate, a lot of argument, but I thought that it worked rather well. And so if you like that premise, if you're curious to see what it has to offer, I definitely think you should check out Women Talking. Number 14 on the list is going to be Armageddon Time. This is a really sweet film about two kids growing up in a very complex world, not being able to understand why things work a particular way. White kid trying to befriend an African American kid, and parents of the white kid are telling him that he shouldn't be friends with this other kid, and it kind of seems like why is that the case? And I thought it was a good look into childhood back in the 80s time. And I thought it was really sweet performance from a pair of kids. This is a film that's mostly helmed by the two child actors in this film. And so I really enjoyed it, and I think you should check it out if you find that premise to intrigue you. Number 13 is going to be The Wonder. I actually watched this movie this very last week of the year. Thanks to Kiko Martinez, I got to see his top 10 list. This is one that didn't quite make my top 10, but I really enjoyed it. It's about a little girl who professes that she only needs to survive from manna from heaven. She professes that she hasn't ate in over 4 months and that she's able to survive. To prove if this is real or not, they get a nurse and a nun to come in and watch her, and her health. I don't want to ruin the movie. You should go check it out, but it is quite a tense experience. A lot of interesting conversations within that film. I thought it was engaging, and so number 13 is The Wonder. Number 12 is going to be Men. This was had some really shocking imagery, and as the list goes on, I just have to go ahead and say right now, this is a great year for horror. This is a film that wasn't my favorite horror film of the year, but had a lot going for it, a lot of tense, thrilling sequences, and uh, a lot of imagery that is probably going to stay in my brain for quite a while. There's a girl that's just trying to get away in this like bed and breakfast type place, and weird things begin to unwind as she stays here. And so that is pretty much the setup of it. Number 11 is going to be Glass Onion. I love that first Knives Out movie. It was one of my favorite films of 2019, I believe it was. This one is not quite as good, but I also don't think that that's a fair comparison, because the first film was really dang good. It was really well crafted and put together. This one was well crafted, but I just don't think that it had that same sharpness that that first one had. In terms of the environment, I like the environment of the first film more, that old vintage house. And in terms of the twist and the reveals that happen, I don't think that they were quite as shocking. Although they were unpredictable, they were intriguing, which still has me putting this Glass Onion film on my list. Moving on to number 10, we have The Black Phone. I saw this movie a long time ago, but once again, this is mostly helmed by a child actor, and Ethan Hawke, who has captured him. And it was really eerie seeing this child actor trying to communicate through a phone his means of escape. And one thing I do remember really appreciating about this film is that the mysterious, eerie side of the film isn't the villain. In fact, the villain is just this kidnapper, but the ghost aspect of it is actually the spirit that's trying to save the child. So the supernatural aspect of the film had a positive presence rather than a menacing one. Quite the convenience for the kid in the film, but I thought it was intriguing to watch. Like I said, there's a lot of horror on here. Number 9 is going to be Smile. This is a film that was the most surprising. Just based on the trailer, it reminded me of Truth or Dare, which came out a few years ago and was one of the worst films I watched that year, just because of the way that the characters are smiling. I thought this was going to be a run-of-the-mill, disposable, throwaway horror film, but I quite enjoyed it. It was extremely scary, had really unique scarring imagery towards the end of the film, and didn't go as expected. Had some really good character development, had a great actress performance, and I really did enjoy Smile, and I think you should go check it out. Number 8 is going to be The Menu. Ralph Fiennes, aka Lord Voldemort, is a chef that's invited a bunch of foodies to his island to try out a bunch of food. Anna Taylor-Joy is kind of the only oddball out that challenges him in the food that he's making. And it was a wonderful, tense experience. It's a dark comedy, horror, and usually those two genres mixed together don't really do it for me, but this particular film, it did work because I leaned more into the horror aspect of it. There's some, I'm not going to spoil what happens in the movie, but there are some really crazy things that happen that are wow factors shortly getting into the film, and I was curious to wonder, why is this all going on, what's happening. And there was a suspense factor that, despite it having some intentions for comedy, had me more so in suspense, and I appreciated that setup. The ending, probably, I mean, there was probably no better way to end it, but I liked the journey getting to the ending. The ending, it was fine. I'm gonna move on to number 7 on my list. It's gonna be Spoiler Alert. It's a LGBT romance drama starring Jim Parsons, who I adore from The Big Bang Theory. He's in a relationship with another gentleman, and it shows the relationship that they have together, and then the eventual deterioration of his partner's health. And that was heartbreaking to see. I would say that the setup of their relationship felt very average for a love story, and if that's all that it had to offer, this wouldn't be making my top 10 list. But this movie probably drew out the most tears from any film that I watched this year. I could not stop crying, and I don't cry when I go to films typically, but this film drew a river of tears because of the way that they set it up, which was admittingly well done, despite maybe being typical of a love story. It was very well done, and then to see this guy go through these health issues, this partner, was very saddening. So number 7 on my list is, spoiler alert, if you want a good cry, go check that out. I think it'll definitely bring you to tears. Number 6 on my list is going to be Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. Emma Thompson is so underrated right now in the Best Actress performance because she gives a stellar performance in this film. You know this is a good movie when it holds the audience's attention, and it is a 90-minute film in a single isolated location. This is happening mostly all in one location. The ending, it shows one other additional location, but this is all happening in her hotel room. The premise of the film is that Emma Thompson's character hires a sex worker to come and give her nightly pleasures. And originally when I heard that premise, I thought, oh, is this going to be just kind of some 50 Shades of Grey fantasy, like drama, some like softcore porn for elder people to like kind of get off to, but it was so much more than that. This film really delves into Emma Thompson's really complex character. She does this, and very reluctantly so. You learn to find out as she has this worker come over, and he's ready to do whatever she wants. She's paid him very well, and she's reluctant to do it. She's like, well, maybe we can just talk. I don't know if I should be doing this. And you can tell her character's conflicted between her morals and her flesh, doing what she thinks is going to bring her flesh some pleasure. And so I thought that there was a lot of relatability for a good amount of people. I don't quite agree with maybe the whole entire message of the film, but I do think it presented two characters that felt very real, very raw emotions. And the fact that they intrigued me for that full time in one location. There's not a big action sequence. There's no big explosion. It's just conversation that I could not turn off. Put this very high on my list. So number 6 is Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. Moving on to number 5 is going to be Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. This is the best animated film of the year, and way better than Disney's Pinocchio. The fact that you spend the first part of the film with Geppetto's real son, get attached to him, and then see what follows was very heartbreaking, and at the same time very funny. In not his son's not him and his son's time together, that wasn't funny, but this Pinocchio character later on that comes to life had a lot of comedic dialogue. I quite enjoyed it. It's a very unique take on the Pinocchio tale. It's closer to the darker versions that have been told in the past, and I quite enjoyed it. And I think you should go check it out. It's streaming on Netflix. Number 4 is going to be The Inspection. The Inspection is a film about a man that is closeted. His mom knows that he's gay and has kind of disowned him. It's very saddening to see that. And he is joining I believe it's military, who is totally against having homosexuals in the army. This is a film that does take place in the past time, and it's saddening to see kind of how what happens is maybe few characters begin to learn of his sexuality. And Jeremy Pope's performance in this film as our protagonist was very great at portraying this character. I really liked his performance. Number 3 is going to be Barbarian. This is the this is my favorite horror film of the year. I told you there's a lot of good horror this year. This is a film for the first 45 minutes. You think it's like about to end as you get to that 45-minute mark. But then the film does this really cool switch where it introduces new characters, a completely unrelated plot, and then it seamlessly connects the two as we get towards the final act. And I like that. I bet that took a lot of risk. It was very unconventional, very different from any other film this year. Not that isn't very common, and I thought it worked very well. I thought the creature, or just character, that maybe is a little bit over the top, was done very well. And if you haven't seen Barbarian, I think you should definitely go check it out. Moving on to number two, my second favorite film of the year, and this is very hard. I kept moving 2 and 1 back and forth, but I am going to go ahead and put The Whale at the number 2 spot. This had the best performance of the year by Brendan Fraser, who plays a 600-pound English professor who teaches virtually and leaves his camera off due to him feeling ashamed of his appearance. Sadie Sink plays his daughter, who tries to reconnect with him, and it doesn't go quite the way he wants. They haven't talked in over a decade. She has a lot of resentment towards him, and I thought that it was heartbreaking to see the result of this man's choices. Over the past decade, he's made clearly a lot of poor choices, and the film explains why he's made some of those choices that have led to the point of his life, to the point that to the point where he is in his life at this particular point in time. And I thought it was heartbreaking. This was one of the other few movies that did get some tears out of me as well. As Whale. This is The Whale. So number 2 spot was The Whale. If it's in theaters right now, if you haven't checked it out, it's not a very long film at all. I think it's like an hour 30, an hour 40. I think you should go check it out. It's intriguing, intense, very good film by Darren Aronofsky. All right, before I reveal my favorite film of the year, I'd like to give some honorable mentions, just a few that didn't quite make this top 16 list, but I did find a lot of enjoyment in, and those films are going to be The Banshees of Inisherin, Till, Turning Red, Elvis, She Said, and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. That was a pretty funny animated film, probably my second favorite animated film from this year, or that or Turning Red. But anyways, those are my honorable mentions, and now I will prepare to unveil my number 1 favorite film of the year, the film that I thought was the most well-crafted, and that is going to be The Fabelmans. I hope that this film wins Best Picture, and like I said, I kept going back and forth between this and The Whale, which I previously had declared was like the best film of the year. I put The Fabelmans just a hair up because of how much story it was able to tell within that 2.5 hours, whereas The Whale is mostly inside this one man's apartment. It's in one isolated location. The Fabelmans is a cinema masterpiece. It's based on Steven Spielberg's life, and you learn to find how he comes to fall in love with film. And it's told in such an engaging way, and there's so much story that's told within the 2.5 hour runtime. We go from this guy's life from childhood to his first big boy job, and it's so much beautiful story from the beginning to the end, and all of the sub-conflicts that develop throughout his life are also intriguing. There's a lot of good family issues, school bullying issues. There was a way that Spielberg put this film together, but only highlighted the parts of the film that would grab the audience's attention. The film moves fast. The score was terrific. On all levels, The Fabelmans was absolutely enthralling. And so those are my favorite films of 2022. There's some other films that did not quite make it. I did get to see Avatar. I did get to see Top Gun. Those films on a narrative level did not draw me in, but I will say that the cinematography, I'm going to be voting for them. They're absolutely impressive. Kate Blanchett in Tar was absolutely stunning. I'll probably be voting for her in the Best Actress category, although that film's, once again, story did not engage me as much as some of these other films. And so those, once again, are my favorite films of the year. I'd love to hear, what are your favorite films of the year? Have you seen all these films? Are you looking forward to seeing any particular ones? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Please leave your comments. I would love to see what films you've seen, what you haven't, and so look forward to reading those later. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and you can also consider subscribing to the channel if you'd like to see more reviews like this in your feed. You can also check out my website, EskimoTV.net, for more reviews from myself as well as my co-authors. Once again, thank you all so much. My name is Jason Escamilla from EskimoTV.net.